Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started on making a mug. Lay it out on one of the pieces of fabric, squish it down a little bit with your hand. That's going to make rolling it a lot easier. You'll have the two sticks on either side. You want to bring this down low, close to you. Make sure that the roll doesn't get stuck. Put a piece of fabric on top of that. Now you have to stand to do this and press down real hard and then roll forward and backward. It's the most physically demanding part. After you get the roll to go all the way down to the sticks, you can check on your work. If you have wrinkles that you don't like, you can re-roll it. If you find that it's kind of weird and there's some chunks like this, let's say for example this was in the way, I can take a chunk off the end, replace it there, and roll it one more time, and that'll fill that in. Next is measuring. You need to have an 11 by 4. 11 by 4 inch slab. So I'm going to lay this ruler down on top and I'm going to just press it in, not to cut it, but just to leave a little mark. Make a mark at 0, make a mark at 11, and then each one of those is going to go straight up. So I'm going to go straight up 4 inches, make a mark. I'm going to go straight up 4 inches and make a mark. Okay, so now I've got 3 sides marked out, and then connecting them together across the top, just like that. So now I have an 11 by 4. So I'm going to take my clay tool, and that's what I'm going to use to cut. Don't use the ruler. This is just like when we're measuring on a piece of paper. Okay, measure from one end and cut it, stick it together. So pull off the excess, pile it up. We're going to recycle that to make a base, and then lift up the fabric to peel up your slab carefully, and then immediately you want to turn it up and into a cylinder, just like that. Alright, next is scoring and slipping. So the two spots where they're going to be joined together are going to be scratched up real good. And you add water. You want to make sure this is really good and scratched up so that it becomes soft. Because if you don't, then you're going to have a hard time getting it to stay together and becoming functional. So I got it scratched up. Now that's the scoring, that's the slipping. I'm going to squish it too. So I'm going to squish, sink towards each other. Okay, so you're not trying to thin the walls. You're trying to press them together. Okay, I'm going to carefully flip it over so I can access the other side. Squish. Those are bonded well together. You may have to, either with your hand or with a tool, lean in and smooth out the inside. And you can definitely do that with either a tool or your hand on the outside, just to kind of hide. Alright, so the cylinder's finished. So we're going to set that to the side while we address the scraps. Again, squish those down. And again, roll out a slab. It doesn't have to be real big. You just need an area big enough for that cylinder there. Okay, that'll work. Now the temptation for a lot of students here is to immediately cut this out, and I would suggest that you don't do that. Instead, I'm going to set it on top. I'm going to trace it. I'm just going to mark through. I'm going to move that back, actually flip it, and then do again, scoring and slipping. Okay, like I said, I like to go through and put slip on first, and then score it. You're only putting the water where you're going to be bonding it. You're only putting the scratches where you're going to be bonding it. You don't want to go be wet. Alright, so that's good scratched up. I'm going to carefully press it down. I got 2 hands, and I'm not squishing in, I'm pushing it down. I'm going to take my clay tool, and at about a 45-degree angle, right here where they meet, I'm going to cut this in to remove it from the slab. So you don't remove it from the slab until the very end. Okay, pick up the fabric here so that it can be released easily. So we don't want that. So I've smoothed down the edge. In the center of your table you have a paper clip. That's what I want you to use to write down your first name and your last name. Enter so that I can read it. The class hour, I'm going to say this is first hour. And then the date. Today I've got on the inside, very bottom, I had some extra scratches from when I scored and slipped it. I'm going to take this brush and run around the bottom edge and smooth those out. We don't want any of that showing in the final product. Okay? The end. I got a finished mug ready for tomorrow's handle and face.